If you don't wake up right now, Hedera could change the entire financial system and you'll still be broke, whining in the comments asking why your bag never moved. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments and I will give you a heart. Listen up, because this is where most of you miss the plot. Everyone loves screaming about HBAR, but almost nobody actually looks at what's happening under the hood. I'm talking about stablecoins. And before you roll your eyes and say boring, understand this. Stablecoins are where the war for crypto dominance is really happening. On Hedera, stablecoins have been climbing this year, slowly at first, but then April and May hit and suddenly the market cap spiked to $214 million, 0 cents. That was proof the foundation is there. Then it pulled back, like all things in crypto do, before reaching another high of $224 million, 0 cents. Today we're sitting around $115,270,000, 0 cents. Some of you see that number and immediately panic. It's dropping, we're dead. No. That's not how this works. Stablecoin supply ebbs and flows across every chain. The real question isn't what's the number right now. The real question is, what are people actually doing with these stablecoins? Because here's the truth. A stablecoin just sitting on a network is about as useful as a treadmill sitting in your garage collecting dust. If nobody's using it, it doesn't matter. But when those stablecoins move into DeFi, when they start powering real transactions, cross-border payments, lending, yield, suddenly the treadmill isn't collecting dust anymore. It's running full speed, carrying weight, and changing the game. Now let's zoom out. Hedera's DeFi total value locked TVL, excluding stablecoins, has been holding between $100 million 0 cents and $150 million 0 cents. That's a decent foundation. And yes, Ethereum's numbers are bigger, but who cares? You think people still brag about using dial-up just because it had more users in 1998? Ethereum is bloated, expensive, and slow. Hedera is fast, dirt cheap, and efficient. And here's what makes me laugh. You've already seen Hedera hit $214 million, 0 cents in TVL. That's proof it can get there again, but then people look at the charts, see sideways action, and go cry about manipulation. No, what you're watching is a network that has the tech, the protocols, and the foundation. What it needs now is participation. This is the part you don't want to hear. Hedera has the highways, the cars, and the green lights. What it doesn't have enough of yet, drivers. You, investors, users, builders, the tech is ready, but most of you are still standing on the sidewalk waiting for someone else to test drive first. Jake loves HBAR. He tells all his friends he's early to the future. He tweets about Google and IBM being on the council. He even posts charts with rocket emojis. But ask Jake how many Hedera DeFi apps he's actually used. 0. Ask him if he's ever staked HBAR or swapped on Saucer Swap. Nope. Jake isn't an investor. Jake is a tourist. He wants fireworks but refuses to light the match. Now compare that to someone who actually tries Hedera DeFi. If you've ever used Ethereum for swaps, you know the pain. Failed transactions, $20, 0 cents gas fees, waiting 5 minutes to see if it goes through. Then you try Hedera. Transactions finish in seconds, cost less than a penny, and don't fail. That's the kind of night and day experience that converts people for life. Once you see it, you don't go back to Ethereum unless you like being punched in the face and paying for it. And yet, here's the kicker. Even with that advantage, Hedera won't grow unless users wake up. The tech alone doesn't win. Participation does. The network is here. The rails are laid. But if you keep sitting on your bags hoping for magic, instead of actually engaging, you're going to miss it. HBAR investors remind me of gym bros who buy the premium membership, the nicest shoes, the supplements, and even the shaker bottle, then never touch a single weight. They strut in, snap a selfie, leave, and wonder why they're still out of shape. That's you. You're sitting on one of the fastest, cheapest DeFi networks in existence, and you're too busy waiting for a pump instead of actually using it. So here's my challenge. Stop being Jake. Drop the words "show up" in the comments if you're actually going to try Hedera DeFi instead of just watching it from the sidelines. Smash the like button if you've ever realized Ethereum feels like paying $20, 0 cents for a cheeseburger when Hedera gives you the same meal for pennies. And don't even think about clicking away now, because this is where it gets wild. Next up, we're talking about stablecoins versus the old financial system, Visa, MasterCard, the banks, the very giants you thought were untouchable, and how stablecoins are already eating their lunch. And guess what? Hedera is right there at the table. Let's stop pretending here. Stablecoins are no longer some side feature of crypto. They are the entire battleground. The numbers are brutal. According to DeFi Llama SEP 2025, total stablecoin supply hit an all-time high of $283 billion, $200 million, 0 cents. Monthly active senders, over 25.2 million users. That's not a blip, that's scale. Now compare that with Visa and MasterCard, the so-called giants of payments. Visa processes about $12 trillion, 0 cents annually. MasterCard around $8 trillion, 0 cents. Impressive? Sure, until you realize stablecoin transaction volumes are accelerating at a pace that will gut their business models. Why? Because stablecoins aren't playing by 1,970 payment rules. They settle in seconds, they cost pennies, and they run 24/7/365 without banks choking the pipeline. Let's talk costs. Traditional cross-border wires average $30, 0 cents to $50, 0 cents per transaction. That's absurd in 2025. With stablecoins, we're talking less than a cent in some cases. And here's the knockout: settlement finality in under 3 seconds on Hedera. You think banks can compete with that? No chance. And don't think this is some underground thing. Even the banks themselves know they're cooked. JP Morgan launched its JPM coin, PayPal rolled out PYUSD, and Visa itself is piloting stablecoin settlement on Ethereum and Solana because they know their 3% fee gravy train is ending. You don't test something unless you're scared of getting replaced by it. So where does Hedera stand in this war? Let's hit the facts. Right now, Hedera hosts USDC, the second largest stablecoin globally, with a $30, 0 cents B+ supply across networks. AUDDD, Australian Digital Dollar, launched June 2025, selected for use in the Reserve Bank of Australia's pilot program. StraightSack Singapore Dollar, SSGD, pegged 1-1 to SGD. And here's what's coming down the pipe. Wyoming Frontier Stablecoin, FRNT, a state-issued US stablecoin chosen to be built on Hedera BHPX, a multi-bank stablecoin from major Philippine banks, announced in September 2025. That's not noise, that's adoption. And don't forget, Hedera's been in the stablecoin game longer than people realize. Back in December 2021, Hedera ran a cross-border stablecoin pilot between Shinhan Bank, South Korea's oldest bank, and Standard Bank, South Africa. 4 years later, stablecoins are the hottest sector in finance. Tell me again how Hedera is late? It's not. It's been preparing for this moment while retail investors whined about price charts. Now let's address the current numbers. Hedera's stablecoin market cap sits at roughly $115 million, 0 cents. Tiny compared to Ethereum's billions. But here's what you're not understanding. That number is irrelevant in isolation. What matters is efficiency and scalability. On Ethereum, moving USDC can cost $5, 0 cents to $20, 0 cents in gas fees. On Hedera, it's fractions of a cent with 3 to 5 second finality. If you're an enterprise, if you're a government, if you're a central bank, where do you build? On the chain that gouges you or the one that just works? And here's more data. Stablecoins are already outpacing credit cards. According to Coinmetrics 2025, stablecoin transfer volume exceeded Visa's annual payment volume in 2022 and has continued widening the gap. Read that again. Stablecoins already move more value than Visa. The war isn't coming, it's over. But then here's the paradox. The retail crowd doesn't get it. They look at Hedera's $115, 0 cents M stablecoin number and scoff. Too small, won't matter, wrong. Enterprises don't care about today's market cap. They care about throughput, compliance, cost, and energy efficiency. Hedera delivers all four. Ethereum doesn't, Solana doesn't, Hedera does. That's why Hedera is quietly being chosen for projects like Wyoming's FRNT and the Australian Digital Dollar. And let's not forget the FedNow connection. In 2023, the Federal Reserve's Instant Payments Program highlighted Drop, a micropayments wallet built on Hedera. That wasn't a crypto blogger shilling Hedera. That was the US Central Bank pointing to Hedera tech. That's real-world validation. Here's the takeaway, and it's simple. Stablecoins are the new financial rails. The old rails, Visa, MasterCard, Swift, are collapsing under their own inefficiencies. Stablecoins are faster, cheaper, programmable, and borderless. The only question is, which blockchain becomes the backbone? Ethereum is bloated. Solana is fast but fragile. Hedera, it's enterprise-grade, battle-tested, and already being picked by governments and banks. You don't need a fantasy. The proof is already here. Here's my demand. Stop crying about HBAR's chart and start looking at the damn data. Stablecoins are $283. 0 cents, be strong and growing. Visa and MasterCard are shaking in their boots. Hedera is being chosen for national and state level stablecoins. And you're worried about whether your bag pumps next week? Wake up! If you actually understand what I just laid out, type rails in the comments so I know you get it. Smash the like button if you're done paying 3% fees to Visa, while Hedera could do the same thing for pennies. And don't go anywhere, because next I'm gonna tell you the part nobody wants to admit. Hedera could win big and retail investors could still lose. Here's the part nobody wants to face. Hedera can succeed while HBAR investors lose. Yeah, I said it. Stop sipping the Kool-Aid. Just because the tech is winning doesn't mean your bag magically moons. Well, let's get this clear. Hedera is an enterprise-first network. That means its focus isn't pleasing you, the retail speculator, refreshing coin market cap every 5 minutes. Its focus is serving banks, corporations, governments, and payment giants. If those entities get efficiency, speed, and compliance, Hedera has done its job. Whether HBAR hits $1, 0 cents, $10, 0 cents, or stays flat, it's secondary. But then here's the sting. You keep thinking adoption equals price explosion. Wrong. Adoption equals usage. And usage can happen behind the curtain without a moonshot chart. Think about it. If Walmart, JP Morgan, or the Reserve Bank of Australia issue stablecoins on Hedera, are they buying HBAR on Binance? No. They're transacting directly with enterprise agreements, treasury management, and fixed fees. That doesn't necessarily pump the token the way you dream it will. Now let's back this with facts. Look at the Australian digital dollar, AUDD, launched on Hedera in June 2025. It's live, it's used, it's pegged 1-1 to the Australian dollar. Incredible? Yes. But did HBAR spike 10x overnight? No. It barely moved. Same story with Wyoming's FRNT state stablecoin. Groundbreaking announcement, yet the chart stayed flat. That's your proof right there. And why? Because the architecture of Hedera is designed for efficiency, not speculation. Fees are fractions of a cent. Transactions are predictable. Energy usage is minimal. That's perfect for enterprises, but terrible if your master plan was to retire off a moonshot pump. Right now, let's talk tokenomics. Hedera has a fixed supply of 50 billion HBAR. Great, no infinite minting like fiat, but here's the issue. A massive portion is still controlled by the Hedera treasury and ecosystem allocations. According to Messari's 2025 report, only about 62% of HBAR is circulating. The rest is in controlled release schedules, council distributions, or long-term allocations. Translation, even as adoption grows, new supply keeps hitting the market, suppressing retail excitement. And let's not ignore utility. Yes, HBAR is required for network fees. Yes, it secures the network, but those fees are microscopic. Average transaction cost, $0, 0 cents, $0,001. Do you understand how little that moves the needle? Hedera could process 1 billion transactions in a month, and the burn on HBAR wouldn't create the price pressure you fantasize about. But then, here's the paradox. HBAR doesn't have to be moonshot material for Hedera to dominate. That's what makes investors furious. You want both. World-changing adoption and a bag that explodes. The cold reality, you might only get one. Hedera could absolutely become the backbone of global stablecoins, payments, and tokenization. And your HBAR could still crawl instead of fly. And that's why I'm yelling this at you, because nobody else will. Influencers keep feeding you hopium about $100, 0 cents HBAR. It's a lie. Do the math. With 50 billion supply, $100, 0 cents would equal a $5 trillion, 0 cents market cap. That's larger than Apple, Microsoft, and Saudi Aramco combined. Be serious. Here's the real truth. HBAR doesn't need to go to $100, 0 cents. If it goes to $1, 0 cents or $2, 0 cents while powering trillions in daily settlement, that's already historic. But if you're holding out for fantasy numbers, you're gonna die holding the bag while Hedera quietly wins without you. Look at the data again. $5.4 trillion traded daily in FX markets. Hedera just proved it can settle tokenized money market funds in real-world trades with Lloyds Bank and Aberdeen. That's adoption. $283 billion, 0 cent stablecoin supply, 25 million users growing every month. Hedera is already hosting and piloting national level stablecoins. It's adoption. Enterprise council of 30 plus members, including Google, IBM, Boeing, and Standard Bank. That's adoption. Now look at the HBAR price chart. Flat, sideways, boring. That disconnect is the entire point. So here's the slap across the face. If you're in HBAR, stop betting your life savings on fairy tales. Focus on reality. Understand that you're holding a utility token on an enterprise network, not a meme coin. If you can't stomach that, sell your bag and chase something shinier. But if you get it, if you understand that Hedera is building the rails of global finance, then hold with realistic expectations. Not because you'll get a Lambo next week, but because you're betting on the infrastructure layer of the future. Now let's make it interactive. Type reality in the comments if you finally understand that Hedera's adoption doesn't guarantee you moonshot riches. Smash subscribe if you actually appreciate someone yelling the truth at you instead of selling you fairy dust. And don't even think of leaving yet, because I'm about to show you the final twist. Hedera's biggest strength might also be its biggest weakness. And if you don't see it now, you'll be the last to wake up. Here's the final truth bomb you've been avoiding. Hedera's biggest strength could also be the thing that breaks it. Everyone loves to brag about the Hedera Governing Council. Google, IBM, LG, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, Standard Bank, and 30 plus more household names. It's the shiny badge that says, we're not some scam coin, we're backed by real corporations. And yes, that's powerful. It gives Hedera credibility, enterprise adoption, and a level of trust most chains will never touch. But then here's the dark side. You can't have decentralized finance run by centralized giants without paying a price. Let's break it down. Hedera doesn't use proof of work like Bitcoin or proof of stake like Ethereum. It runs on Hashgraph consensus with a council governance model. That means only the governing council members, about 39 multinational companies and institutions, control the direction of the network. They decide upgrades, they vote on fees, they influence treasury allocations. Not you, not retail, not the community screaming on Twitter. And here's the kicker. While council control makes Hedera enterprise safe, it also makes it a risk. What happens if those council members decide to prioritize efficiency over decentralization? What if they keep fees so low that HBAR's token value never accrues significant upside? What if adoption explodes, but all the benefits funnel straight into corporate use cases while retail sits on stagnant bag? That's not paranoia. That's the logical outcome of how Hedera is structured. Let's talk numbers again. Hedera processes over 1 billion transactions per month in 2025, according to Hedera's public metrics. That's more than Ethereum and Solana combined on certain days. Insane throughput, enterprise-grade speed. But ask yourself, if 90% of those transactions are corporate micropayments, ad tracking, or stablecoin settlement rails, how much of that translates into upward token pressure for HBAR? The fees are fractions of a cent. The burn is negligible. Adoption does not equal price moon. And don't forget token distribution. Hedera's max supply is 50 billion HBAR. As of this year, about 62% is circulating. That means tens of billions are still locked in treasury allocations, ecosystem grants, or future releases. Translation, dilution risk. Even if adoption grows, supply hitting the market keeps your bag heavy. It's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of bricks while cheering, but at least I have Google on the council. Then there's regulation. Enterprises love Hedera because it's compliant. They want predictability. They want a governance model where IBM or Google can sit in a boardroom and say, yes, this chain won't suddenly rug us. That's the appeal. But for retail, that means Hedera will never be the Wild West, high game, pump and dump casino some investors are dreaming about. If you want that, you're in the wrong project. Now let's talk risk of centralization. Critics have pointed out that Hedera's nodes and governance aren't truly decentralized yet. Council members run permissioned nodes. The roadmap says it will open over time, but for now, the control rests in the hands of a few. Compare that to Ethereum with thousands of validators worldwide. Hedera is faster and cheaper, sure, but at the cost of concentrated power. And if that concentration is ever abused, or if one government puts pressure on those council companies, what happens to the trustless system? It suddenly looks very trust dependent. Here's another angle. Stablecoins. Yes, Hedera is winning deals. Wyoming's FRNT, AUDD in Australia, PHPX in Asia. But think critically. These stablecoins are fiat backed. That means they're still under the thumb of banks and regulators. You're not escaping the financial system, you're digitizing it. That's great for adoption. Terrible if you thought HBAR was going to become the rebel asset of choice. So here's the brutal truth. Hedera's design guarantees adoption, but adoption doesn't guarantee investor riches. The council model ensures enterprise trust, but trust means corporate priorities first, token holders second. The efficiency of the network guarantees stablecoin growth, but fees so low they barely move the needle mean price pressure stays weak. And don't forget, stablecoins themselves are exploding. $283 billion, 0 cents total supply, 25 million users, Visa and MasterCard terrified. Hedera's positioned to be a major player, but if you don't understand the structural risks, you're going to keep fantasizing about $100, 0 cents HBAR, while the reality is much more grounded. Here's where I stand. Hedera is one of the most powerful, efficient, and enterprise-ready distributed networks on the planet. It is not a joke, it is not going away, it is not late. But it also isn't the golden ticket retail thinks it is. If you can't handle that duality, HBAR is both revolutionary tech and frustrating investment, you're playing the wrong game. Now, let me test who's still awake. If you understand what I just said, type duality in the comments, because that's what Hedera is. The paradox of being both the best network for adoption and the worst network for moonshot dreamers. Smash the like button if you'd rather hear the raw truth than the fake hype. And if you want more unapologetic fire like this, hit subscribe, because I'll keep ripping the bandage off while everyone else keeps selling you bedtime stories.